In this video, we're going to show you to install the outer tie rod end on your Honda Ridgeline located on your steering rack. Using a 22mm socket, you gotta loosen and remove your lug nuts. Once you have your lug nuts removed, go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Using our 19mm wrench, or you can use a pair of large pliers, you want to get and loosen the jam nut here, locking the outer tie rod end to the inner tie rod. Now sometimes you might have to use some heat on this here, depending if it's all rusted or not. And what we're going to do is back this down several threads. Using a 22mm socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove the nut on the tie rod end. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to use my 2.5 pound sledge and I'm going to strike the knuckle right here. Hopefully that will release our tie rod end. I'm also going to use a pry bar going from our sway bar up to the outer tie rod, and we're going to whack this to try and lift that up and out as it releases. And go ahead and release that. Now I want to go ahead and unthread our outer tie rod from the inner tie rod. Ours is a little bit rusty and frozen, so we're going to use a 22mm wrench right on the square side right here and a 17 on the inner tie rod here. I'm just trying to break this free. Now in our case, we can't get ours to really budge. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up a little bit to go ahead and get this to spin off of the shaft. Now we went ahead and heated this up, and we're going to go ahead and rotate our outer tie rod counterclockwise. We want to count the rotations it takes to unthread it from the inner tie rod. That way there, when you install the component, you can go ahead and spin that on the same amount of times and give you a base setting for your alignment. We're going to use our 17mm and our 19mm socket and remove the jam nut. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize compound on the threads here. Thread down our jam nut. Now when we removed the tie rod, it took us roughly 20 full revolutions to remove that from the inner tie rod. So we're going to thread that back on 20 revolutions. Now this is going to give us a preliminary setting for our alignment. You will have to have an alignment performed after this job is done to make sure that you prevent premature tire wear or component wear. All right, it just caught one. Now if you can't get your tie rod end here to bend out a little bit to fit in here straight, you can go ahead and pop the nut back on. So what we're going to do is thread that nut on and use a socket here. Just kind of pull that a little bit. Let's go ahead and rotate that just a little bit so we can get that to line up better. Go ahead and thread on that tie rod nut. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Now the one thing you do want to pay attention to, this is a castle nut, so it has notches in it. Now there's a reason for this here. The ball joint stud itself has a hole in it for a cotter pin. So that means that you're going to have to line up one of these notches with the hole. So identify where the hole is on the stud, get this started, and then when we tighten and torque this down, you need to pay attention to where that hole is so we can go ahead and put that cotter pin through. I'm going to torque this down to 41 foot-pounds. Now once that's torqued, you want to line up the notch with the hole. And if it's not lining up, if you can't put the cotter pin through, you want to continue to tighten this until the next notch lines up with the hole. Never back this nut off to line up that cotter pin. And ours is just barely clearing, so we're going to tighten that just a tiny bit more. There it is, it's going through. Use a pair of pliers. And grab one of the legs of that cotter pin, bring that back and through. Tap that up and use our cutters to cut off the back leg there. Go ahead and discard that. Now you want to go ahead and tighten down your jam nut. Now if you have the ability to do so, you want to go ahead and torque this to 33 foot-pounds. If not, just make sure it's good and snug. So you can see that the tie rod is spinning. Tighten that. Now what we're going to do is you want to go ahead and level off the tie rod here. I'm simply going to grab a pair of pliers and grab this and rotate this down so that it's level. Now at this point here, we're all installed. We can now install our left front wheel. You want to repeat this process for the other side. Don't forget, get an alignment performed once this job is done. Go ahead and grab your wheel, line that up. We'll install our lug nuts. Once we have all of these started, we'll go ahead and snug those down. Let's now go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 94 foot-pounds. When doing this, you want to do it in a crisscross or star pattern. You're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.